Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's New York City Council hearing for the Committee on Criminal Justice. At this time, I'd like to remind everyone to please silence all devices, and at no point may you approach the dais. Chair, we are ready to begin.
Good morning. I am Council Member Sylvina Brooks Powers, Chair of the Committee on Criminal Justice. I want to welcome everyone to today's hearing on programming to prevent recidivism and promote public health and safety and related legislation. I'm joined by committee members and council members, Councilmember Caban as well as Nurse. And online, we're joined by Council members Nycc and Morano. First, please join me in congratulating Department of Correction Commissioner Stanley Richards and Department of Probation Commissioner Sharon Goodwin on their appointments to their posts and thank them for being here today. We look forward to working collaboratively with you to improve your critically important departments and advancing a more just criminal justice system. The justice system includes what happens while individuals are in custody and preparing them to return to our communities better able to thrive and avoid re-entering the system. The programming, services, and supports offered in our jails are central to reducing violence inside facilities, promoting health and safety, and lowering the likelihood that someone will return after release. New York City has legal and moral obligations to provide meaningful programming to people in custody, including educational, vocational training, therapeutic services, and reentry planning, including a clear requirement to offer 5 hours of daily out-of-cell programming. Unfortunately, in the recent past budget cuts and staffing shortages negatively impacted the delivery of programming of the highest quality. We want to hear from the Department of Corrections, Department of Probations, and the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice and representatives of the Correctional Health and Health Services what shortcomings they have identified in the delivery of these services and how they will enhance and improve them under the new administration. We will explore how programming connects to public health outcomes, including mental health support, substance use treatment, and continuity of care upon release. We will also look at the role of community-based partners and reentry networks in helping individuals secure housing, identification, employment, and other stabilizing resources that reduce the risk of recidivism and what will be done to ensure they are able to continue delivering such critical assistance. We are also considering a bill to enhance reentry, introduction number 246, sponsored by Councilmember Hudson, would require the Department of Correction to return all unused commissary funds to incarcerated individuals in cash prior to their release and to clearly inform them orally and in writing and in a language they understand of the remaining balance in their accounts. The bill would also prohibit the charging of any fee for the return of such funds and require annual public reporting on unclaimed commissary balances and the department's efforts to return those funds. This bill aims to ensure those who have unused funds receive them at a time they can be of most use when they have limited financial resources as they look to get on their feet and successfully reintegrate into their communities. When we invest in meaningful programming, we are investing in safer facilities, safer neighborhoods, and stronger families. We must do all we can to end the cycle of recidivism, and appropriate and reliable programming can clearly help in this regard. I thank everyone here today for participating in this hearing. I look forward to a thoughtful discussion about how we can strengthen jail programming to promote public health, improve reentry outcomes, and enhance public safety for all New Yorkers. I also want to acknowledge that we've been joined by Councilmember Brewer. I'll now pass it to the committee council to be able to swear in the agencies. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We have a long list of people testifying today, so I'll read off names. From the Department of Correction, we have Commissioner Stanley Richards, Nell Colon, Chelsea Chard, James Conroy, and James Boyd. From the Department of Probation, we have Commissioner Goodwin, Wayne McKenzie, Deandriana, I apologize, Paterkin, Paul Richards, Tiffany Bell, Joshua Young, Antonio Polino, and Patricia Williams. From the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice, we have Nora Daniel, Deanna Logan, and Molly Slothenauer. And from the Correctional Health Services, we have Jeanette Morel. If you could all please raise your right hands. If you could, do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee and respond honestly to council member questions?
Yes, I do.
Noting for the record that all the witnesses answered affirmatively, you may begin your testimony.
Good morning. Thank you for having us here. Chair Brooks, Powers, members of council, it's my pleasure to be here today. I'm Deanna Logan, Director of the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice, affectionately known as Nycc. I'm joined here by Chief of Staff Nora Daniel, Executive Director of Research Innovation Molly Slothenauer. We are exceptionally pleased to be with our colleagues from the Department of Probation, Commissioner Sharon Goodwin and her team, and the Commissioner of Department of Corrections, Stanley Richards. We are excited to welcome them and look forward to working together as we bring new perspectives and they bring new perspectives to addressing the system challenges that we all know we have. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss our collective and interconnected work to address recidivism. Let me begin with just the simple truth. Public health is public safety. Long-term, sustainable public safety requires investing in people by providing them with individualized treatments and supports that they need to thrive. Nycc's mission is clear: ensure fairness in the criminal legal system and shrink its footprint. And how do we do that? By shifting to a restorative approach for justice-involved individuals, reducing incarceration and recidivism, and coordinating swift and fair processes for the entire justice-involved population. Our research helps to direct criminal legal system programming by providing accurate picture of the overall system. It's important for me in this morning to just orient us with some of the data that's concerning our current legal system and recidivism rates. Since 2022, the jail population rose 24% to a whopping 6,836 people in custody. And we have to be honest that this census is a concern. And we will need to be mindful and carefully monitor with the seasonality of spring and summer warming months coming of how we address that population increase. Also, given that we know that our borough-based jails capacity accommodates only approximately 4,000 people, just a little bit above that, there is considerable work ahead. These sobering numbers are important to note given that the jail population is interlinked with issues of recidivism. Since 2022, the one-year felony recidivism rate of all people in New York City court systems remains at about 13% citywide. The one-year felony recidivism rate of people who completed their time in Rikers and returned to the community each year outpaced that general court-involved population, going from 30% to 32% during this time, the same time. The length of stay for complex cases, as well as case processing delays, have also contributed to an overall increase in the jail population. Addressing recidivism is beyond the ability for any one single agency. We all in this room have a role to play. And MockJ currently supports a provider ecosystem of programming that does include supervised release, alternatives to incarceration, reentry services, and transitional housing. We invest in alternatives to jail, which, thanks to our amazing nonprofit partners, offers pathways towards stabilization. The data is clear. Most participants do well in existing programming, but significant gaps still remain in the system. While programs and services exist, the current demand for those resources is higher than the program can serve. For instance, while we have approximately 800 beds available for our transitional housing, we know that the need of people leaving Rikers is far greater. Continued system improvements require stronger support for the program staff's well-being, better access to appropriately matched services, and environments that foster human connection and clinical excellence. A deeper recognition overall in the criminal legal system of the barriers that people are facing, and also acknowledgement of the strength that all of the people that we serve have and possess. So, what are we talking about? We are looking at and making sure that we know and note that while capacity is an issue, there is also a need for programming and housing that serve complex needs of justice-involved population. Given that it really is a small number of people with the highest needs that represent a disproportionate number of cases in the criminal legal system, we want to ensure that there are robust services and supports specifically for this high needs population. These are the people that are at greatest likelihood of falling through the cracks time and time again. And this group currently makes up approximately 40% of the city's jail population. We're able to see in the data that people who need the most help are cycling through a very strained system. It's important that we focus on programs and models that prioritize care and support for complex needs. Employing this lens, we have piloted some unique models and programs that show promise, prioritizing the care and promoting stability for individuals. Together with our contracted partners CJA and CASES and the support of this body, we introduced interventions such as the intensive case management, known as ICM. And this program focuses on intense engagement. Case managers do more than make referrals. They actually walk with the participants. They help them with the services, going to treatments, getting their housing, and making sure that they comply with the court orders. They stay engaged even when participants' progress is uneven, and that is essential. This program has successfully produced reductions in violent felony recidivism among participants. It's a continuous work in progress. Our researchers are studying what's working and what isn't. So ICM can continue to evolve into one that's even stronger solution that can be for the entire city. We also developed Atlas, which now sits under the Department of Youth and Community Development. And Atlas uses data to connect high-risk individuals with tailored services and ongoing support. MockJ continues to provide quality assurance and technical support to the program. What's really key to focus on is Atlas is voluntary, and the results so far are promising. Even without a court mandate, a majority of participants complete the therapeutic services. This tells us that when people have a safe place to live, access to treatment without barriers, and a path to work, we see that they are far less likely to return to the system. We are committed to making this reality for more and more New Yorkers by embedding public health across the criminal legal system. At MockJ, we are coordinating across agencies to invest in people with the highest needs so everyone in New York benefits. I'm not going to be untruthful. This process is going to take time. But we here are all aligned on these objectives and are absolutely committed to accomplishing them together. Addressing recidivism will require sustained and focused coordination and care across agencies. And for that, I will now hand off to my colleagues at the Department of Probation and Correctional Health to provide more detail.
Good morning, Chair Brooks Powers. Good morning, Chair Brooks Powers and members of the committee. I am Sharon Goodwin, Commissioner of New York City Department of Probation. We are pleased to be with our colleagues Deanna Logan, Director of the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice, and Commissioner Stanley Richards of the Department of Corrections. I'm joined today by General Counsel Wayne McKenzie, Deputy Commissioner Joshua Young, Deputy Commissioner Patricia Williams, Associate Commissioner Antonio Polano, Senior Director Deldrina Peterkin, Director Tiffany Bell, and Director Paul Richards. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss our programming and the direction we are taking under this administration. The Department of Probation fulfills a dual role, operating at the intersection of law enforcement and social services, ensuring accountability while providing meaningful interventions and support. At its core, probation is built on a clear belief: people can change. We believe in community safety and that accountability matters. We also believe that when individuals are given structure, supervision, and the right interventions at the right time, they can stabilize their lives and avoid deeper system involvement. Our responsibility is not limited to monitoring compliance. It is to reduce recidivism by changing behavior while establishing stakeholder engagement and strengthening our programming. Most people placed on probation face significant barriers, which can include unemployment, housing instability, behavioral health needs, substance use, and trauma. We are currently assessing how we can collaborate further with our sister agencies, our partners, and the unions. Supervision alone does not resolve those challenges. If we want safer communities, we must address the underlying risk factors that drive repeat involvement in the justice system. That is why programming is not an add-on. It is central to our organizational strategy. While I am new to the commissioner's role, I am not new to probation. For over 38 years, I have dedicated my career to this field. I understand both the operational challenges and the extraordinary potential of this agency. Since my return, I have focused on listening and assessing. We are conducting a comprehensive analysis of our programming, staffing, and operation to determine where we are aligned with evidence-based practices, where there are programming gaps, where creative solutions and collaborations are needed, and whether our programs are improving measurable outcomes. I am committed to grounding our organizational decisions in data and research. That means strengthening our use of cognitive behavior interventions, structure skill building, and targeted workforce development programming. We are currently delivering programming through a combination of in-house initiatives and contracted community-based providers across the 5 boroughs. These include educational programs, vocational and workforce development opportunities, mentoring through Credible Messenger, and referrals to behavioral health services. We are expanding our existing programs. For example, we are evaluating the development of a Neon Academy model within our existing Neon sites to expand access to skilled trades, certifications, and structured workforce pathways tied to real skills and real jobs. In addition, we are working to reestablish Neon stakeholder groups to ensure community members and local partners have a voice and a seat at the table to inform programming priorities. Public safety outcomes improve when the communities are engaged partners. Our community stakeholder groups build connections and, most importantly, trust. Furthermore, we are evaluating ways to expand our behavioral health programming to ensure that our clients and their families receive the supportive services they need to achieve sustainable outcomes. These are just a few of the many ideas we will be working on to bring to our city. A client's time with probation is a critical opportunity for redirection through balancing accountability with access to services that support positive change. Through continued assessment, collaboration, and investment in evidence based programming, the Department of Probation is working to ensure that individuals under supervision are provided with meaningful opportunities to succeed and that the communities we serve are safer and stronger. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify today. I welcome your questions, your insight, and your continued partnership.
Thank you, Commissioner Goodwin. Good morning, Chair Brooks, Powers, and members of the Committee on Criminal Justice. I'm Stanley Richards, Commissioner of the New York City Department of Correction, and I am joined here today by Nell Colon, our Deputy Commissioner for the Division of Programs and Community Partnerships. I am deeply honored to be here today and grateful to Mayor Mamdani for the opportunity to serve in this role. My journey, including my own experience of incarceration, has shaped my life's work. And I am here before you, committed to ensuring that this department reflects hope, transformation, transparency, and accountability. Let me begin with humility. I have been in this position for just a few days, and I am listening, I am learning, and I am meeting with staff and those who are in our care across all facilities, speaking with partners, reviewing data, and digesting the full scope of the operations and challenges. While I intend to hit the ground running, it would not be prudent of me to offer or commit to detailed operational changes quite yet. But I can be clear about the direction in which we are headed. We are turning the page, and we are doing so with our eyes wide open. The task before us is not a 6-month project. It is not even a 1-year project. Transforming the jail system with the size and complexity of New York City's is not like steering a speedboat. It's like turning a cruise ship. It requires steady leadership, discipline, coordination, collaboration, and the patience to move deliberately and sustainably. Once we turn, we must continue forward with consistency and purpose. This work will take time, and I am here to see it through. My strategic mission rests on 4 interconnected pillars. First, safe, humane jails, period. Safety is fundamental. Without safety, nothing else works. Safety must extend to correction officers, non-uniformed staff, and the people in our care alike. But safety cannot come at the expense of dignity. I do not believe that a humane environment is in tension with security. I believe it strengthens it. When we center our work on order, fairness, and accountability, and when we refuse to judge people solely by the worst thing that they have ever done, we create conditions where transformation becomes possible. Second, I am focused on developing and strengthening partnerships. Although the Department of Correction is situated on an island, it does not operate in isolation. Reducing recidivism and violence requires collaboration across a wide array of stakeholders, including city partners like the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice, the Department of Probation, Health and Hospitals, Correctional Health Services, New York City Public School System, external program providers, faith leaders, community-based organization, and this council. It's important to note that the city does not operate in isolation either. This work relies on strong partnerships with state agencies and organizations that impact who may come into contact with the criminal legal system. Effective reentry planning begins on day one of incarceration, not on the day of discharge. But we know that ultimately, the most effective strategy is prevention. We must strengthen the bridges between custody and community so that support begins before incarceration and does not stop at the gate upon release. Third, I am intent on supporting responsible population reduction and a true continuum of care by leveraging all of our partners. Population reduction is not simply a numerical goal. It is part of creating conditions where programming, counseling, education, substance use services, and reentry planning can function as intended. A true care, a continuum of care, means individuals have access to structured programming while in custody and clear pathways to housing, employment, treatment, and community support upon release. We must measure success not by lives locked up, but by lives transformed. Last, but certainly not least, a critical part of my vision for this agency is to prepare the department for borough-based jails. The transition away from Rikers Island presents a historic shift in this city. Borough-based facilities demand a different model. Closer coordination with communities, enhanced focus on services, and new facilities designed with rehabilitation in mind. We must ensure that our workforce, our partnerships, and our infrastructure are aligned with that future. We cannot, however, forget that we are still years away from completing this move, and resources will be needed for those who still are detained and work on Rikers Island. There are many hardworking and dedicated public service servants at this agency that are already engaged in this vision, and I am excited to learn more and to lean in and support and strengthen our contributions to this monumental citywide project. Finally, I would like to touch on the topic of this hearing because it is important and a personal one to me. Programming matters. Evidence-based intervention and counseling, educational services, vocational training, substance use program, faith-based engagement, structured discharge planning all play a role in reducing system involvement. Reentry coordination, discharge planning, and partnerships with community providers are essential components of preparing individuals for a successful return home. At DOC, we have a team within this agency that is highly qualified, that is passionate, that is dedicated to this work, the work of transformation, and I am excited to support them. We know that technology can be used to further enhance community connection, and I intend to explore how to continue to modernize the department in order to expand access to both services and access to loved ones. Pathways to employment following release must be real. And so we will collaborate closely with our partners to strengthen and support the continuum of care between jail and community. Social services must be accessible, and so I want to make sure that the department's Division of Programs and Community Partnership is robust and equipped to do the challenges and important work to which we have been drawn to this calling. But programs alone do not reduce recidivism. Leadership reduces recidivism. Stability reduces recidivism. Hope reduces recidivism. Over the coming weeks and months, I will be reviewing participation rates, service delivery models, staffing structures, and outcomes data. I will speak with program staff, uniform staff, service providers, and people in custody. I will work closely with partners and stakeholders across the criminal justice system because this work cannot be done alone. The Department of Correction does not determine who comes into custody. Meaningful progress on recidivism requires that all stakeholders come to the table to provide people with the tools for a better future with less adverse contact with the justice system. Reform is not only possible, it is essential. But it must be grounded in facts, transparency, collaboration, and a clear-eyed assessment of what works and what needs strengthening. This will not be easy. There will be setbacks. There will be moments when progress feels incremental. But transformation in large systems is built through consistent, disciplined effort. Remember, cruise ships, not speedboats. To the uniform and non-uniform staff of this department, I say to you, your safety and professionalism are central to this mission. We cannot build safe jails without you. I know that each of you work long hours to keep our facilities safe, and investing in staff morale and well-being must be pillars of our success. Your dedication has the power to change the trajectory of someone's life. To the individuals in our custody and their families, your story is not over. Our responsibility is to create conditions where redemption and successful reentry are possible. And to this council body and the people of New York City, I commit to collaboration, transparency, and sustained effort. We will move forward deliberately. We will measure our progress honestly, and we will stay focused on building a department that New Yorkers can be proud of, one defined by progress. The road ahead is long, but I am here and I am committed to this mission. Thank you for the opportunity to testify, and I look forward to the partnership with the City Council to build lives. Thank you. I turn it over to my colleague.
Thank you all for your testimonies today. We'll go right ahead and hop into questions. I'll start with a series of questions, and then at a certain point, I'll yield to my colleagues to ask questions, and then we'll do a round two if necessary. So Commissioner Richards, again, congratulations on your recent appointment. I'd like to start with a couple of broad questions before drilling down with you and your staff on programming for people in custody. You enter this position, obviously, with unique background. The first formerly incarcerated person to serve as Commissioner of the Department of Corrections. How do you think your experience informs what your priorities will be in this role? And in what ways do you think your leadership will be different from the commissioners that have served before you?
Thank you for that question, Councilwoman. I think it's more than my collective experience. It is my 35 years of doing this work, where I've done this work by holding true to a couple of foundational points. One is that people are not the worst thing that they've ever done. And so I walk into this role seeing both uniform staff, non-uniform staff, and incarcerated people as people to be valued, people to be lifted up, people to be held accountable, and people to be supported. And so I'm coming into this work with that pillar as what I'm bringing to the department. The second piece is that I think for decades in big departments, through bureaucracies, it's been hard to get to yes. My approach is, how do we get to yes? Because when we get to yes, we can begin to transform and change the way that the department has been operating. We're located on Rikers. Officers feel isolated. Incarcerated people feel isolated. The majority of our department are black and brown people. The majority of the people incarcerated are black and brown people. And so there's a bit of work that we need to do to make sure that we're getting to yes to support the members of service and incarcerated people. And so I'm bringing all of those things to this role, which I think is different than what we've seen in past administrations.
Thank you for that. We all know that working as a correction officer is an extremely difficult and often dangerous job. What are some of your initial ideas for how to improve safety and morale for the correction workforce?
Yeah, I think you look at the population, and my colleague at J could talk more about the population, so can correctional health. What we have are people with mental illness who are detained in jails that was not designed for people with mental illness. And we have correction officers who are not clinicians, but are charged with providing services and care to people who have those challenges. So I think the first thing we want to do is make sure we go back to correctional practices 101, fixing the infrastructure challenges we have with jail doors, making sure officers are trained and equipped to deal with the population we have, and making sure that people who don't need to be in our system are safely removed from our system so that we can begin to reduce that footprint. And I think as we do those things and bringing in programs and making sure people are engaged, we can begin to have safe jails, and that will prepare us for the borough-based jail system.
Thank you for that. In a matter of months, there will be a remediation manager in place who's been granted the authority to make a wide variety of decisions related to jail management. Since your appointment, I know you have already met with Mr. Dem.
Mm-hmm.
How do you view your position in relation to his job as remediation manager?
The North Star for me is jail safety. The Nunez consent decree is around jail safety and addressing the consent decree order. When I met with Nick, him and I talked about our North Star. Our North Star is not different. And we see the work ahead as a partnership. And so I'm looking forward to working with Nick to address the 12 contempt orders, to be in compliance on the Nunez decree so we could finally set that aside and begin the preparation for the borough-based jail. I do not see his work in opposition to the work that I need to do. I see it in partnership. And the multiple conversations we had, that's exactly how we're going to approach it.
Thank you. Last session, the council passed Local Law 140 of 2025, which, among other things, required the Department of Corrections Commissioner to establish a full-time coordinator to manage the transition to borough-based jails. Can you give us an update on hiring for this position?
We are in the process. I'm in the process of getting briefed on exactly where we're at with the borough-based jails. It is a priority for me. I was one of the original architects of the design of the jails and advocates for the borough-based jails. So I have not yet been fully briefed on the scope of the work, the status of the project, and the staffing on it.
I saw movement. Are you adding to it?
Not yet.
Okay. Commissioner, you've spoken about your intention to better utilize the 6A early release program. Can you explain the way the program operates and how you might expand its use?
No can go into details of how it operates. My goal is to use every tool at my disposal in partnership with J, probation, correctional health services, to make sure that we're doing everything we can to reduce population. We're going to be working in partnership with health and hospitals on the Just Home project, which would allow us to permanently house people with chronic medical conditions who tend to cycle through some of the most intensive systems we have, hospitals, shelters, and jails. We're going to be working with J and probation, our community providers, to offer alternatives to incarceration, supervised release, and other diversion programs to ensure those who could be safely diverted are diverted in partnership with the district attorneys, and 6A is a tool that I have, and Nell can talk specifically about how we're using it. But I plan to use every tool at my disposal to safely reduce population.
Hi, and I'll just add, so the last time I think I was presenting was around the time of the executive budget hearing. And during that time, we talked about needing to have a dedicated team to be able to vet and look at who is currently city sentenced in our custody and how we can better utilize 6A. Since that time, we have opened up 2 lines. We have onboarded one of those 6A coordinators. The other person is pending. So they are in the pipeline, as we often say at DOC, but they currently haven't started yet. We have vetted every city sentenced person in custody, and I think where the work is now is aligning with Commissioner Richards on the future pathway of how we utilize 6A.
Thank you both for that. The Board of Correction made recommendations in July 2025 to update the eligibility requirements for the 6A program. These relatively minor changes proposed by the Board of Board of Correction mostly sought to ensure that the department was not excluding people for 6A consideration for acts that occurred far in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with those recommendations, and are you planning to implement them?
I need to look at those recommendations, but I can tell you generally, as I said earlier, my approach to management is how do we get to yes? And yes is how do we get to a place where we could safely reduce the population using all the tools we have, including 6A. So if there are barriers to allowing people to safely participate in 6A, we want to take a look at that. We are not in opposition of that, but I just haven't been briefed specifically on the Board of Corrections rule.
Understood. Thank you. Turning to programming. Earlier this month, you announced that nonprofit-led programming would be returning to Rikers Island after budget cuts led to insourcing 2 years ago. In your press release, 3 groups were identified as having been awarded contracts. Have these program providers begun their work on the island? If not, when will they start?
Yes, it's quite exciting. So these contracts were registered in December. The providers are onboarding staff. They are on Rikers. And in fact, just to give like an update as an example, the substance misuse provider is the Fortune Society. And we opened up our first sober living community literally within the last week. So this is something that we've been talking about and hoping for. And it's something that's happening and it's real. And so these providers are here. We are working to get them more robustly here. We anticipate that we're going to see more services happening literally in the coming weeks and month as they onboard. And just to give an overview of who is awarded, we have for the trauma-informed care programming contract, we're working with the Osborne Association. With the transportation and transition planning contract, we are working with both FedCap and the Fortune Society. FedCap is going to be the organization working specifically on transportation with us. For substance misuse services, we're working with the Fortune Society. And then for supplemental education, we are working with PD Green.
Thank you for that. Will the department consider bringing back the other program providers who had contracts prior to the $17 million budget cut in fiscal 24?
We want to make sure, as all of our testimony, we understand the important role programs play. And not only in helping people rebuild their lives and transition from jail into the community, but programming in jails also provide opportunities for safety. People are engaged. People see hope, have hope that their life could be different. It reduces violence in our jails. So we want to partner. We can't commit to having additional contracts, but what I can tell you, we will absolutely commit to working with any nonprofit who provides services and want to come in and work with the people in our care to help them transition into the community. We are open to have those conversations, and we're open for those partnerships.
Thank you. And even as the program providers begin their work, the ones that are now being onboarded on Rikers Island, are there still programs that will be run in-house by the staff?
Absolutely. So the Division of Programs and Community Partnerships really is intended to be both what is in that title, which is program staff who are hired and work for the department, as well as our community partners that are nonprofit organizations contracted with us and including volunteers, and volunteers of a variety of types, including faith-based organizations and other nonprofits that might have different expertise that want to come in on a volunteer basis. But we are absolutely committed to continuing the work with both our internal departmental non-uniform staff, who are civil servants, as well as working with contracted providers and nonprofit organizations.
Thank you for that. I'm gonna pivot over to the Department of Probation, and then I'll come back to round two. So I'll give Department of Corrections a little break. Commissioner Goodwin, congratulations on your recent appointment as well. I want to start with some questions about your vision for leading this department before turning to specific questions similar to Commissioner Richards. So during the tenure of the previous commissioner, the department underwent rapid changes and altered many longstanding policies and priorities. In what ways do you think your leadership of the department will differ from the previous commissioner, and what will be your main priorities? Are there any reforms instituted under the previous regime that you plan to continue as well?
Well, what's different with me, of course, I started at the Department of Probation as an intern and went through the ranks. My vision for the agency is just to look at the existing policies and look at um, the way in which we govern ourselves through evidence-based practices. Does it make sense? And am I looking to change some of our policies? Yes, that's being in review. and I'm listening to the staff. So right now I'm on my listening tour. I'm listening to what the staff has to say. I'm listening to the unions. I'm listening to my nonprofit organizations. I'm listening to the credible messenger. I'm making sure that I'm on the tour. I'm listening. And I have the ability, like Stan said, my colleagues, is can we get to yes? And I have the same focus. Um, yes, I'm definitely going to do things differently, but I want the evidence to lead our practice. Where does it lead us? What does the data say before we make some policy changes? But like I said, I spoke to you, thank you, Brooks Powers, about my view on certain things, and I told you that, yes, I'm looking to change some policies.
Thank you, Commissioner. Um, and what is your philosophy when it comes to the issuance of violations for adults and juveniles? How will you instruct staff on when it's appropriate to issue violations, especially technical violations for noncompliance with rules such as curfew, school attendance, and program participation?
Violations of probation is only to be filed if the person is a threat to themselves or to the community. We do have a past policy that mostly our violations of probation involves violence and arrests in terms of felonies or misdemeanors where a person is a victim. We do automatic violations on that. Any other violations is at the discrepancy of the officer. In terms of violations of probation, my view in terms of technical is that we at probation must do everything we can in our power to help the person and making sure we provided all the best services, opportunities, and care for that person. If we did not do that, we have different levels of how we approve violations of probation. And if we are not doing what we were supposed to do and what the person needs and we haven't addressed it, then no, we do not do technical violations.
Sorry. try that again. So has reported that in fiscal year 25, of the 1,009 people at Rikers approved for supportive housing, at most 14 were actually placed by the end of the fiscal year. Only 266 people were even referred to a housing provider. Why are those numbers so low? What plans are in place to increase referrals and hopefully placements so we do not keep missing the opportunity to connect people with stable housing and services?
Sure. So, hi, Jeanette Merrill, External Affairs for Correctional Health Services. So, as mentioned, CHS does submit to HRA 2010E supportive housing applications for everyone in custody who has serious mental illness and self identifies as experiencing homelessness. So, our applications are almost universally deemed appropriate. The patients, their clinical needs are deemed as being eligible for this kind of housing. The challenge is actually securing that housing from Rikers directly. So we, CHS, are not the only ones who are submitting supportive housing applications to HRA. Applications also come in through health and hospitals more broadly, through the shelter system. And so the challenge that our patients face is that they, by and large, have unknown discharge dates. And so it is very difficult to secure permanent housing when you don't know when you'll be able to move in. And so we do work, to facilitate interviews with providers, teleconferences, or if they want to come in person. But the challenge really is that the supply does not meet the demand. And I also don't want to ignore stigma potentially in our patients being selected for housing.
Thank you. And I'll come back round two for you as well. I'm going to pivot to Mock J. Hello.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Somewhat two questions. First, can you update us on the status of Mock J's ability to provide transitional housing to people leaving jail? The transitional housing program is currently funded for 1,000 beds. So, like, how many beds are online? What's the timeline for the remaining beds?
Right now, we know we have 800 beds that are online, but I'm going to turn it over to our chief of staff who's overseeing programming to give more specific detail.
We are funded for 800. We are funded for 1,000 beds, and we have about 800 online. We are looking to open up new sites currently, and we're working with our providers to open up those sites, and they're currently in the pipeline.
Okay. And what's Mock J's capacity to provide transportation directly from Rikers Island or other correctional facilities directly to the transitional housing beds?
So we currently, our providers do have some funding to, not directly to transitional housing beds. So that is a gap that we should be working to fill. Our providers are usually people. We have folks who come directly from Rikers sometimes, but people are also referred directly from community as well.
And judges, district attorneys, service providers, and defenders all have lauded the transitional housing beds and called for them to be expanded, especially for people with serious mental illness, young adults, and other specialized populations. Does Mock J have any plans to increase the number of beds? And if so, what is the time frame for that expansion? If not, why not?
So we are currently working with our providers to expand the beds up to the 1,000 beds. We have some beds online in the pipeline. In terms of expanding to for people with serious mental illness, that is something we're currently evaluating and working with our partners to determine the exact gap there and figure out exactly how many beds we would need, and then we'd have to work, with our other partners to determine exactly how many beds we'd be able to bring online for that.
In addition, Chair, I would be remiss if I didn't point out that we do have challenges with siting. And so we are open to our partners. We've had conversations with different members about making sure that we can find locations where our nonprofits are going to be welcome, where they can be the assets to community that they are. As you know, Fortune is one of our partners. They are an asset to community. All of the neighbors are generally telling us how great they are to have those partners in community, but it is a challenge to just get to that place, to actually be able to complete the fair share, the seeker process, and then go through the community boards to get the location opened. And so that we will be seeking partnership with the council as well in order to be able to think about how we could expand that.
Thank you. And Commissioner Goodwin, one question I did want to ask in this round was another contract that was put in jeopardy, and we spoke about this offline, but just wanted to be on the record by the previous administration was the Works Plus program, an initiative to provide comprehensive services to young people referred from the crisis management system who have been impacted by gun violence. Can you let us know where things currently stand with the Works Plus contract, and will you consider reinvesting in this program for the upcoming fiscal year?
Thank you for that question. I'll turn it over to Delvina Peterkin.
Good morning. Thank you for that question. And so the Works Plus program contract ended in 2025, fiscal year 25. And so DOP facilitated, or is facilitating an orderly and proper closeout for Works Plus. So we extended it for 1 year. So DOP will continue to work with the providers to ensure that through this extension and through the closeout, and we're also committed to make sure that every client in the program has a transitional plan going into, so they can continue with the services, leaving out that Works Plus program.
Okay, so there's no real commitment to continue it at this time.
Not at this time. I'm still assessing and going through what programs we think will work, not just for our clients, but for the community.
Thank you for that. I'm gonna pause on my questions and go to council member questions. We'll first hear from Councilmember Nurse, followed by Councilmember Caban.
Thank you, Chair. Congratulations on your appointment, and congratulations to you and to everybody on all your leadership roles. I just have a few questions. One, I'm not sure if anyone here is able to speak to the law we passed last year, which requires the mayor to set up the very wonky name office for coordination of the transition to borough-based jails. I believe most of the agencies represented here will have a role to play in the interagency working group. So I don't know if anyone's been, I just don't know the progress on that office being stood up. I know it's not your all's direct work, but curious if you've been engaged on that effort.
I haven't been briefed on that particular effort. James.
Hi, council member.
Hi.
This work is underway. I think, we have to coordinate, obviously, with the incoming or the new administration, but the transition planning is underway here at DOC. And that's something we're laser focused on with Commissioner Richards of not preparation, because the jails, all the contracts are registered. If anyone looks at Brooklyn, it's several stories high. It is now time to start thinking about transition planning and what those resources look like. We do have an executive director of BBJ in the pipeline that we hope will start soon, because they're going to lead that endeavor. But over the last couple of years, we have built a robust team focused on the construction and timelines of BBJ. But we are now at a significant milestone, 4 years out from BBJ, the first Brooklyn facility being, construction being completed, for us to start planning what transition looks like now.
Okay. And, the first report with some recommendations is due in May. So it would be good to communicate early if more time is going to be needed on that. And then for probation, I'm glad to hear your position on technical violations. We talked a lot about that last year. We saw a rise in the use of those through probation. And when we asked about it, we were told there isn't a written manual, but there's a whole written manual on violations. And most of the members of this committee held the position that we should not be using those as a last resort. So I'm really glad to hear that was one of my questions. And would love to stay engaged with you. And I know the Youth Services Chair, Councilmember Stevens, is really keen on programming It was very confusing to understand what's the data and how are we evaluating these
So,
programs?
I would love to say that I'm making sure I make my way around to each office because that's part of my listening tour, so I can come and speak to you about probation and about where we're going, and hopefully keep that partnership going where I'm visiting, at least once a year or twice a year, just so we can have an open data. And also, I'll be asking for some help as well. And, looking forward to y'all joining or sending a representative to our NEON stakeholder groups.
Yeah.
So you can always have a voice on what's happening at probation.
Yes. Just a couple more questions, Chair. I'll be brief. Okay. I had a follow-up, but okay, thank you. One of the things that I really wanted to just uplift here under your leadership is that, over the last years, we had so much incoming mail and communication from a lot of probation officers conveying so much low morale. And I hope this administration can address low morale, not just through the leadership, but through the paychecks that folks are getting, right? Like low morale, higher wages. These folks are working really hard. They need stable schedules. And hopefully that is something you could advocate for with the mayor so that these folks have the right contract that they need to show up for work with their whole selves.
Yes. And also, I've been working with the union president, and she and I have been talking about a lot of these issues, and I think we're at a good place.
Thank you.
Councilmember Caban, followed by Councilmember Brewer.
Thank you. I appreciate that y'all rolled deep today. I'm gonna ask, please be as succinct as possible because I got a lot of questions, and we're gonna try to get through a bunch of them. One is just a follow-up on 6A. Just really quickly, I was excited to hear the plan there, but I want to know specifically, does that plan, part of that plan include vetting your list being compared with the list of public defense providers that they compile of people they think are eligible for 6A?
I mean, to be quite transparent, I don't think we've crossed that bridge of having that list yet, but
Okay.
I think that would be a wonderful thing to receive and to look at. Absolutely.
Great, thank you. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. Under the Southern District of New York's 2016 order in Hanbury versus Thompson, DOC required to ensure that people under 21 without a high school diploma or GED who want to go to school can go to school at least 3 hours a day, every day. So DOC houses most school eligible people in RNDC, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And do all RNDC housing areas that house young adults have access to school?
Yes.
Okay. And how do officers know who in a housing area is eligible for school? How do they receive the list of people who should be escorted to school? Making sure the list is accurate, those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a variety of mechanisms. The first and foremost is that every young person who comes into custody gets an evaluation or an assessment on if they are interested in going to school and if they also need to go to school, if they don't have their high school equivalency or their GED. And then from that assessment, that prioritizes them to go to school. So that list is then sent over to the Department of Education, who then vets and makes sure that people do not actually have their high school equivalency or GED, so that we get them on that list to be going into school from a housing unit. That list is provided to the department from the Department of Education or New York City Public Schools. And that list is then given. We have specific officers who do the escorting for school. So they go to every housing unit to make sure that people are woken up, that they are alerted, that they are aware. And actually something that I think is really important to mention on this, within literally the last year and a half, our education specialists, who are non-uniform staff who work for the department, have moved into a case management system.
Okay.
And that is in part to ensure that young people, even if they had declared, no, I don't want to go to school, but they do need their high school equivalency or GED, that we are following up with them. We are encouraging them. And if there are any barriers, if someone's signed up for school and isn't going, that these people on our team, the education specialists, are actually meeting with individuals and saying, what's the barrier and how do we help you and how do we get you to school?
So it sounds like also you guys are encouraging people to go. What happens if somebody's not on the list and they ask an officer and say, I want to go to school? What are the officers told to do policy-wise or procedure-wise?
like in the moment, that information is given over to the staff to be able to vet and make sure that they can come into school. But since every housing unit, which is something recently in recent history, we have not had every housing unit at RNDC going to school, since that is what our practice is today. This school year, every housing unit is going. They have the opportunity to go and then be vetted to make sure that they need to go to school and what classroom they should be going into.
And just to close the loop on that question, it's we've heard reports that several young adults during the current school year weren't escorted to school from the RNDC housing because of the not being on the list. So just want to make sure that those obstacles are removed. I know that legal aid had emailed council about, I think, a discrete number of people. So would love follow up on whether those folks are getting access. I do want to sign up for a second round. I have more questions, but I just do want to wrap by saying that I appreciate the topic of this, and also, and I think, especially Commissioner, you know this, but recidivism is a flawed metric, right? It's not a comprehensive measure of success. It doesn't take into account structural conditions, race and class bias. It doesn't take into account NYPD priorities or policing priorities. And so I think there's a tension here because we're seeing the increase of use of precision policing, which has been debunked study after study. We are seeing the increase of broken windows policing. We're seeing a continued criminalization of cyclists. And so those things obviously affect recidivism rates. So I think just making sure that we aren't looking at recidivism through a vacuum of personal responsibility, but also systemic changes. We know that there needs, and that's where reentry comes in, right? We know it's like employment, financial stability, health. So hoping that we can continue to talk about those things. Right. Thank you.
And I have you down for round two. Councilmember Brewer, and then I'm going to ask questions on behalf of Councilmember Nycc.
All right. Thank you very much. I like you all, but I really like Stanley Richards. I'm just telling you. He's been my friend for a very long time. Okay. You're all right, but my question is Bellevue. So we have toured the space there that you and Dr. Katz have set aside, but there's no staff. So my question is, my understanding is that would help, taking individuals there with wonderful support, medical and other. So my question is the staffing. So you don't want to have your best staff perhaps go there. Everybody wants to go to Bellevue, preferable to Rikers. Are you trying to get others to come out of retirement? Are you able to find staff? When we were there, I don't know, 3 months ago, there was no ability to get the staff. James Boyd knows everything.
Thank you for keeping us honest, Councilmember. Yes.
I always do, James.
Yes, you do. That is a plan. We are working with Commissioner Richards. One of the first items he asked about on day one. And so we are coming up with that timeline of what that plan looks like, inclusive of staffing. What we're focused on right now is all of the SCOC punch list items: training, policies, staffing, testing out all of the systems within Bellevue. And, what's equally exciting is not just the space, but is that we never commissioned a jail in decades. And so this is a significant milestone for us.
What do you think the timing could be? Months, years? What?
I don't want to commit to a plan without, talking to the commissioner first, but we can definitely circle back with you sometime next week.
Okay. Number two is just programming. So when I go, I've only been to Rikers maybe 5 times recently, but it seems like not enough people in programming. Now, maybe they will be. But you see people with nothing to do all day long. I do know some people who are there now, and they don't have a lot to do. So my question is, I understand that you're maybe in the recent past getting more people, but how long does it take to get culinary, that thing where you drive around that the guys like, whatever the hell that room is?
Yeah.
All that. How do you do it quickly so that they're not hanging out?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think that part of this answer is that a lot of what you're describing, the driving simulators, all of our CDL,
Culinary.
all of these programs are cohorts and they cycle. And so you're right that some folks may do this cycle and it may only be 1 to 4 weeks that they are engaged, and then they get a certificate, they get credentials associated with it. So that is something that, like, on a vocational level, that they get to leave with. But it does mean that this is not that they are doing the driving simulator every day, 365 days a week, you know? And so for us, and I think under this leadership and this administration, we're really looking at how do we bring more programs into this space? How do we bring more people to congregate locations to do this programming? So even if it is not, you know, one cycle of culinary, that they have ongoing programming that could be in the field of culinary.
Okay, I mean, I'll be quick, but even Cosmetari, nobody is often there when I'm there. And I'm not there at a time when it's during the day. They should be at that program. All right, so I do think that whole program issue, I'll let you go, but GED is not easy. I got 2 people in my house trying to get through it who happen to be migrants. English is not their first language. So when you leave after Councilmember Cabana asked about schooling, how do you hook up with District 79? So you're at Rikers.
Yep.
Then you go out and you want to continue your GED. Is there a real clear way to hook up with District 79, which handles the GEDs?
Yes, and I think the beauty of having District 79 in our jails is that for people who are enrolled in school, they are in the District 79 system while they are in our school.
It's a different program, though. It could be Renaissance on the outside, Rikers on the inside. So who keeps tabs of who's going where and making sure they follow up?
District 79 would be the like agency that would be having the follow-up. They have social workers that work with people while they're in custody. So they would be the ones that would be doing that case management in the community.
I will stop, but I don't think it's a great follow-up, may I add. Thank you.
You want to do a round 2? Okay. The next series of questions is from Councilmember Nycc. Commissioner, many of the medical production failures at Rikers predate your tenure. As you step into this role, what did you identify as the single biggest operational breakdown preventing people from reaching medical care? And are missed appointments primarily a staffing problem, a scheduling problem, or a clinic capacity problem? And what operational change have you already implemented since taking office? And lastly, what steps are you taking to ensure individuals are not released with untreated medical or psychiatric conditions that could destabilize them and increase the likelihood of reoffending? And if I need to repeat anything, let me know.
Yeah, thank you for that question. My priority is safety and health and support so that people don't come back into our system. I have not met with correctional health as of yet, but my plan is to meet with them and to figure out how we could work together to make sure that people in our care get access to health care. I think the starting point for all of us is that we need to sort of stop trying to identify the blame and start looking toward how do we make sure that we work in partnership to make sure people are produced, make sure people get the health care that they need. And so I plan on meeting with correctional health leadership to identify how we can work together to ensure people get access to health care.
Thank you for that, Commissioner. During previous criminal justice committee hearings, the department has acknowledged struggling to meet the legal mandate to provide 5 hours of daily out-of-cell programming to everyone in custody. Where do things currently stand? I know we spoke privately about it, but just wanted to be on the record. Is the department able to provide 5 hours of daily programming? If not, what are the plans for coming into compliance with this legal requirement?
DC Nell Cologne can talk specifically, but let me just say, for me, a priority is bringing in programs, making sure people are engaged. The 5 hours are the minimum standard. For me, we ought to be providing services and resources to help people figure out what's their next move when they get released from our system. Whether when their case is adjudicated, they get sentenced to state prison or they go home. And so as an agency, we're going to set that as a priority. DC Cologne could talk specifically about what we've been doing around the 5 hours, but that's a priority for me.
Would you like me to add? Yes. So the 5 hours of programming, I think there's a few like critical things to address about this. One is the definition of how we're getting to the 5 hours, and this is something that literally like day one with Commissioner Richards is what does that look like, and what does it feel like when you're in a jail seeing programming or not seeing programming, and what should the quality of that programming look like? So right now we are assessing how we're defining it because historically and post-COVID, the definition has been all-inclusive of all types of programs and services that are afforded to people. But as we know, not everybody might sign up for law library, as an example, which is 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. So we've been reaching 5 hours of programming by including metrics like who is attending law library or is that afforded to a housing area. But then another critical component of that is if we have, let's say, a staffing where a non-uniform counselor is not able to come into work for a day. Now that house is impacted by if they're receiving their counseling services, whether that's 1 to 3 hours in that day on that unit. So for us, I think right now it's evaluating how are we defining what 5 hours looks like so that our housing units and our programs in classrooms look differently and feel differently.
Staying in that same
Yep.
vein, it's our understanding that the availability of programming varies amongst the different facilities on the island. What accounts for some facilities having more or less programming options?
That's a great question. Actually, I'm going to lean in part. It's for the departmental internal staff, we try to have a pretty consistent flow of programs across all of the sites when it's the internal staff who we're assigning, whether it's an internal counselor or a legal coordinator or access to enhanced recreation or fine and performing arts that are from departmental staff. Now, what we find is at times we have community partners and volunteers who specialize in working with specific populations. That might be specializing in working with our emerging adult population, who is 18 to 21. That might be specializing in working with women. And so what we find is then resources end up getting targeted towards those specific populations, and it starts to look like there is less for everyone else because we have these volunteers or contractor providers who are really special. Their specialty is in working with these subsets of populations on Rikers Island, which is a critical mission of ours to say, how can we then support these other sites, specifically the adult male population, to make sure that they are getting equal access to programs and services.
And so if a person in custody is transferred to a different facility, outside of obviously the ones that are in-house, do they then lose the access to that program? Is there a level of continuity when they're moved, or is it just cut off?
It really depends on the circumstance. I'm going to use an example. When we have people enrolled in post-secondary offerings, so college courses, our intent and goal is that they do not get removed from the location that has that offering for that specific cohort. We want them to complete that class, that cycle. If that is within our control, that we can say they are not going to move to a different facility, we will do our best to make sure that they get to complete that program that they are currently enrolled in. But on a day-to-day basis, there are movements that do happen with people in custody, and that does mean that people will have opportunities at a jail, a specific jail, if a cohort, again, is happening at that jail that is not located in another jail, and in some circumstances, it is just cut off.
Another legal mandate related to programming comes from Local Law 42 of 2024. Legislation the council enacted over a mayoral veto to ban solitary confinement in city jails. Implementation of this law has largely been held up in court. However, one unstated provision requires that all people in custody under the age of 22, regardless of security status or location, receive access to trauma-informed, age-appropriate programming on services on a consistent and regular basis. Is the department currently in compliance with this legal requirement? And if not, can you provide a specific timeline for when you expect to be in compliance?
Yes. So the short answer to this is, from our perspective, yes, we are in compliance, and I want to dive into what that means in a little, if I can. So first and foremost, to offer age responsive programming and also like just competent programming in general for people who are 18 to 21, there's a few different ways we can do that. One of that is, what evidence-based curriculum are we actually using for young people, and is it responsive both in reading level and in scenarios, like the driven aspect of what people are actually engaging in? Can they connect and relate to it? And we have done the work to make sure that our curriculum specific to the emerging adult population who's 18 to 21 has that competency behind it. And that all of those tools are evidence-based. When it comes to trauma-informed care, I think there's like a additional layer to that, right? So trauma-informed is the lens that we're applying as we're working with somebody and really seeing them as a whole person with whole experiences, life experiences, both inside of our facilities and prior to being in any of our facilities. And with those life experiences may come different reactions or triggers of how they engage with their environment. And so our programs and our services should be extremely mindful of those triggers, those reactions, and then how we work and support that whole person in maybe developing a different reaction, or maybe supporting them through how they're engaging with their environment. We do that through training of our staff. So we have 2 different training series. One of them is specifically working with emerging adults in correctional custody, which does talk about the stages of development and then the impact on the stages of development when trauma happens, and then also how we respond to that. Another one of our training series is on trauma-informed care. And that is a scenario-driven training series that is specific to looking at real incidents that have happened on Rikers Island and how we responded to them, and how, if we used a trauma-informed care lens, our response might differ. And it's really engaging the members of service, both uniform and non-uniform staff, and what that response might look like. We're partnering with the Osborne Association, who will be bringing expertise in trauma-informed care through their procurement, their challenge-based procurement. And with their partnership, we're also looking at, is there a gap in service when we talk about trauma-informed care, of literally doing evidence-based curriculum that is specific to themes of trauma, such as seeking safety, which is a national standard for curriculum on focusing on the themes of trauma. So the Osborne Association will be bringing in those expertise and those curriculums to be working with people in custody in group format and also an individual basis. They will be providing wraparound care. They have a partnership with the NYU Silberman School of Social Work, as well as a partnership with the Horticulture Society of New York. And I would be remiss if I did not mention that, trauma is something that also deserves real mental health treatment. And that is where our partners at CHS come in to provide that mental health treatment, because that is beyond, at times, programming or skill building. But that's when they get to sit with their licensed mental health clinician, with their licensed clinical social worker, and do that real work, which is offered and afforded by Correctional Health Services.
Thank you. Next, we're going to go into round 2 with the council members. We'll have Councilmember Nurse, followed by Caban, followed by Brewer.
Thank you, Chair. I think my question might be for you, actually. I think so. It was great to hear that you've reviewed all the cases that I think you said you reviewed all the 6A eligible cases. In the past, when we asked about staff capacity, I think there was one person working on it, not full-time.
Part-time.
And then at some point later on, you brought someone else on.
Also part-time.
Also part-time. So moving forward, just for ongoing case review, what is the capacity going to look like?
Yeah, so it is the 2 dedicated full-time staff members who will be doing their entire role and responsibility is 6A. So it is both vetting to make sure every time somebody is city sentenced and comes into our custody on a literal daily basis, we are starting that vetting process. We're reviewing what their length of stay is, what their charges were, all the factors that kind of come into play that need to be presented then to the commissioner for review. And so that process is happening with those 2 dedicated staff. And we still have, actually, it's now 3 part-time staff who have access to all of the same systems and all of the same information, who could help with vetting if there came a time that we needed to have more assistance.
Okay, those are people who are only working part-time, or just part-time on this particular issue?
Part-time on this specific issue. Yeah, they're full-time employees, and they're supporting the 2 full-time staff on this if there comes a time that it's needed.
What do you anticipate with this increased capacity, which is good? What do you anticipate in terms of your annual case review? We had like a couple of years ago, it was like 32, then it was like 68. Where do we think we'll be now with this added capacity? What's your projected case review?
I think that it's hard to equate, and I just say this, it's hard to equate like the number of people, if we're saying part of our case review is that like 100% of people need to be vetted, and that's where we need to sit all the time, right? So on that case review status, like that is our goal, is that 100% of people are vetted, and that information is given then to the commissioner. But for the projection of literal, like the number of people released, I think that that is going to be a conversation for the commissioner at a later time, also with all of the stakeholders involved.
My last comment is that while I'm really glad that Just Homes landed, I know that you had mentioned citing is an issue, and I think that under this administration, I think it would be important to kind of be creative about how to prime communities for that, and then what does ongoing sustained engagement look like? The council member who's there now, thankfully, council member Shirley Abdul is there. We're grateful she's there because she supports this. But, we want to make sure that she can stand 10 toes down on this project and not have to fend off, ugly things that come up on her own. So it would be great to think like, what is the ongoing engagement for those communities that might be oppositional, because those other communities need to do their fair share, right? And we need to push them to do it, and there's new tools to do it now, but we need to make sure we're out there and not just with the loudest voices, but where people are at, to make sure that when we stand up these operations, that those folks are welcome, because we want them to feel a part of communities. So that's it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna just go back to the education piece.
Yes.
I ended on saying that Legal Aid had reached out about 8 Hanbury class members multiple times, so I want to make sure that that gets addressed. But also, the Hanbury requirements apply no matter where the person is housed. That's correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so that includes RESH.
Yes.
And that means that they have to also get that 3 hours, right?
Yes.
And is it DOC policy that the student-teacher ratio in RESH be 1-to-1?
So I think that it's not a policy. What I'm gonna say is that the layout and design of RESH, the room that can be used for the classroom on each housing unit, can effectively fit probably 2 to 3 people.
Okay.
And so when you look at what and how we're doing classroom education in RESH, that is where the barrier comes in, because they're not being
Logistically, you need something like a 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 ratio. Okay. And there's more than one school eligible student currently
Absolutely.
housed in RESH?
Yes.
Okay. We've heard reports that like usually about 20 to 30 school eligible people are housed in RESH. So I just want to talk about, or ask about, how you're ensuring that everyone in RESH is getting the 3 hours of school, because we've been told that for several years, right? School eligible people in restrictive housing haven't received that requirement. So I want to know, looking forward, what efforts are being made to fix that?
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a great, it's a great question, and it's honestly one of our biggest struggles. It is like truly one of our biggest struggles. We have one teacher who is phenomenal, and he is working with
Need more teachers.
I know. He is working with people like trying to do as much as he feasibly can within a day. But that is not looking like what you're prescribing or describing as like the 3 hours in a classroom setting, because it is starting to look like 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 engagement. Where I think one of our efforts is to try to fix this gap in service is with the support of our supplemental education procurement that is coming on board, because their entire intent and goal, like the literal scope of their work, is to help support, get more people access to school, more people access to tutoring, increase GED graduations. So while they are not a replacement for the 3 hours of school, and I want to make that very clear, that they are there to provide supplemental support, and this is one of our areas of saying, if we can't have more teachers right this second, which I love that you said we need them. If we can't have it right this second, then how are we still supporting people with educational access and educational support to make sure that they're still meeting their milestones while they're in RESH?
Yeah, and we want to be partners in making sure that folks have access to the teachers that they need. And then my last question on this is just like, does the borough-based jail plan, does it account for or make changes to the existing physical logistic challenges that you just described?
I think one of the beauties of the borough-based jail plan is that it is like programs is center and like first and foremost like one of the core aspects of what the design looks like. So on every single housing unit, on every single floor, there is classroom space, there is opportunities for us to actually bring programming at a larger scale within those designs. So to the answer, it is yes, the borough-based jail plan has really looked at these, for lack of better words, design challenges or failures and said, let's really think about this differently.
Thank you. Will there be a third round? Okay, sign me up.
Thank you very much. I have three quick questions. One on tablets. When I am there, I see people have tablets. So my question is, does everyone have one, and how does it assist, if at all, in what we're talking about today, programming, et cetera? Number two, oversight and investigations. When I was chair last time, did a study of visitors, people coming and their experience. And I do think that helps with a good experience, hopefully with your family and your loved ones, helps you stay out when you get out. So how does that, have you read the report, and have you have any ideas about how to implement some of these suggestions? And third, on safety, I know a lot of the correction officers have told me that some of the cell doors are broken. And how are we going to fix them? Those are my three questions.
Should I start with tablets? Or just to do that one quickly. So approximately 80, I think it's 88% as of this week have access or have been afforded a tablet. I will use that. They have been afforded tablets. Now, that 88% and being afforded a tablet does not account if somebody has like a system malfunction and they had to send the tablet back to Securus, and temporarily for a month or 2 months, they may be waiting for that tablet to come back. And that's just being transparent, right, about our situation with the tablets. And with that, absolutely, the tablets do assist us with programming. We have, in reviewing the numbers, people use their tablet approximately 2 hours a day on average. Within that, most of their engagement use, as we drill down into it, is in what we call our betterment apps, which are applications like eDovo, which assist with a variety of different educational and workforce-related or infused lesson plans. It also is with some of our religious content. We also have Essential Ed that are located on some of the tablets, or on all of the tablets rather. And Essential Ed is actually in direct connection with the New York City Public Schools. It is something that we have been talking with them about how we leverage and utilize that to support educational services. So yes, absolutely, the tablets support, and technology just broadly supports advancements with programs.
And let me speak to the cell doors and visiting. Cell doors are a priority. That's around safety. We need to figure out how we pull down the resources to get those doors fixed. I'm looking forward to working with the City Council. This administration is setting safety as a priority. I'm working with our facilities management and repair division to identify how many cell doors we need to repair and the cost for those. And we'll be having ongoing conversations about unlocking resources so we can do that. That's safety number one. That's corrections 101. As far as visits are a priority for me. When I was at DOC last time, we had a visiting work group that was led by Osborne Association. We are going to bring that group back to really look at how do we enhance the visit experience for families and loved ones of those who are in our care. What can we do to increase the amount of time people are getting visits? So we're going to be looking at that entire process, because all of that lends to safety in our jails and connections when people come home.
Please read our report, Stanley.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner, I'm a big believer in collecting data and looking at metrics to evaluate performance. When it comes to the programs Department of Correction offers people in custody, what data is collected and how does the department evaluate whether to continue or change programs?
I'll ask Nell to start.
Yeah, so we collect a lot of data. I mean, we have significant metrics that are on the actual engagement within the program, and then there's some qualitative metrics as well. But the specific metrics typically are on how many people were offered the program, how many people actually attended, was there a reason why somebody did not attend, and then we look at holistically what's going on. Specifically, also if we have, let's say, a program that is occurring, even if it's internal, where we have a counselor doing a group on a housing unit, and we recognize that only 10% of the housing unit is engaging in that activity or that program or that curriculum, is that for us to then say, maybe this curriculum isn't the right one for us to be implementing. So we are using data and are equally data driven to see how we can improve our programs and what our program and participation rate holistically is looking like. Because as we mentioned, if our goal is to increase what the quality of those 5 hours of programs looks like, that means that we need to be using data to see what are people tapping into while they're in our custody. But we do have those metrics and we maintain those metrics.
And thank you for that. It's our understanding that during the last few years, the department conducted an analysis informed by the views of people in custody and staff to identify which program areas were effective and useful. Can you share some details about how many people gave their input to inform this study or the analysis, and what some of the big picture takeaways may have been?
Yes. So actually, almost on an annual basis at this point, we end up doing a variety of different surveys with people in custody from within the Division of Programs. So this is driven by our team to see how are we best supporting people in custody. Most of the time, we take a representative sample of people in custody. The last survey, actually, one of the last surveys that happened was with about 10% of the population. So that's roughly about between 600 and 700 people in custody. And us utilizing their feedback, again, representative sample of both age brackets, and other identifying factors of like low, medium, high classification, what housing units or jails, sites, whatnot, so that we are actually factoring in a holistic view. And then those results, we end up analyzing. We have submitted internally evaluations of that. And that's actually where we came up with the challenge-based procurements of coming to the city of New York and asking for the city to say, help us identify what this programming can look like, because people in our care have said that they need substance misuse services that are supportive and supplemental to clinical treatment, that they need additional transition planning services, that they need additional trauma-informed care support, and that they need supplemental education. And so that is how we came with that procurement. And that's one example of how we use this data or this information to inform our practices.
Thank you for that. I'm going to pivot to the Department of Probation. Commissioner, do you plan to reinstitute the court liaison officer position?
Yes. But it may not look like it did prior, but definitely yes.
Do you have a timeline?
Our timeline would be, I would say it won't be long. I could tell you within the next 60 days as we evaluate our staffing and we're looking at the courts and what courts need help. So I could talk to about the next 60 days. Even though I believe they already probably started doing it, but next 60 days.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a question I asked privately, but just to have it on the record. Do you plan to continue to require that all probation officers carry guns and wear uniforms?
No, I do not. I think that not everyone needs to carry a weapon. I'm a believer that we don't need too many weapons out in the community, but we need weapons in specific areas of probation. And so they are going to be required to carry a firearm. But we do have other areas at probation where I don't think it's necessary. And it could be on a voluntary basis. And in terms of uniform, again, like I said, I'm looking at that policy as well. And, after meeting with the union president and I think we agreed on a happy place, and that we're looking at business attire and regular field work. And then when we have events, uniform.
Thank you for that. In recent years, there's been a massive exodus of Department of Probation staff. According to an analysis conducted by council staff during the last administration, the Department of Probation lost over 6,000 hours of probation experience. As of last year, the department had the highest vacancy rate amongst all city agencies. When staff leave the department, it results in higher caseloads for the people that remain. What is your plan to reduce the Department of Probation's vacancy rate and help address the problem of staff burnout?
That's we're looking at doing that. That was like our priority right away. So we have implemented where we're bringing back our probation officer trainees. We're working and contacting all the universities about our requirements and our recruitment. We have reached out and worked with DCAS in terms of advertising. 105 Power, we're like really hands-on in terms of getting out there and recruiting. We have posted for probation officers as well as probation officer trainee. And right now, we have about 239 applicants that we have to go through. So that's a good thing. We also lowered the amount of time spent at the academy so we can get more classes in. And so we can have more POs and POTs coming through the agency.
Thank you for that. Turning back to programming, under the former administration, the Department of Probation regularly changed contract terms and canceled contracts with minimal notice. Will you commit to working more closely with the community providers, including seeking input on contract changes and holding regular meetings with the contracted providers?
Yes, I will. And that's why we are reestablishing our NEON, which is our Neighborhood Opportunity Network stakeholder groups. A lot of the providers belong to the stakeholder groups. And we have project managers, which I'm planning on expanding so we can get out to the community, as well as myself being involved in the community and with all providers.
How can the Department of Probation expand programming, including both intensive community monitoring and contracted alternative to detention programming to reduce the number of young people in detention?
Thank you for that question. We will have Deputy Commissioner Williams.
Good afternoon. Thank you for that question. So we're actively looking at that now as we are doing, looking into different programs for ICM and all of our continuum services. And so we are planning to expand a lot of our programming because we see the need in our communities for these programming.
Thank you for that. And the previous commissioner ended the contract for Impact, an alternative to detention that was intended to serve 175 young people annually with intensive mentorship and mental health supports. Will you explore whether this program should be brought back?
So we're currently discussing that and other programming to see what best fits our continuum of services at this point. So we'll be having updates pretty soon about that.
Thank you. I'm going to pause my questions again and allow Councilmember Caban.
Thank you.
One moment. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting. I have to acknowledge Councilmember Salam is online virtually. Go ahead.
Thank you. Going to shift gears a little bit. I'm wondering what improvements the city can make on connecting people in custody who qualify for ACT and FACT teams or IMT treatment, for example, with a treatment team before they're released. So the assertive community treatment teams, the forensic ACT teams, and the intensive mobile treatment teams.
Yeah, sure. So I should mention that, the health department manages all of those programs, but CHS does submit referrals through the SPOA, the Single Point of Access program, and DOHMH determines eligibility and then assigns people appropriately. And those are based purely on clinical needs for individuals with serious mental illness.
And understood. And what improvements do you think could be made to connect more people? Because we know the success of people returning home oftentimes hinges on a really good long-term stable mental health plan. Rikers continues to be the largest mental health provider, and it shouldn't be. Those people should not be incarcerated. But like, what can we do to connect more people? What can we do about the identification process? What can we do, and how can we be helpful in making sure that folks can be in contact with and approved for a team before they're released back into community?
Yeah, so we do consider everyone with serious mental illness for eligibility into the programs. I think maybe the health department could speak more to increasing their capacity or whatever challenges they may have. I will say, in terms of patients with serious mental illness, they are all eligible for case management services through our CRAN services, which is Community Reentry Assistance Network, and that's available in every borough. There's also core reentry services we provide to everyone, including help reactivating Medicaid, connecting to community-based health services, including health and hospitals, port practices, which are primary care clinics at Bellevue and Kings, and they provide not just primary care, but also psychiatric services, as well as some other programs we've stood up.
But for those facilities that you mentioned that are in every borough, it requires an individual to go to that facility, or somebody meeting them?
They would need to go to the
I mean, that's a difference
office.
maker. Some people need the in-home care, and that's like the beauty of the treatment teams that are able to go to the person. I mean, my background in public defense, oftentimes one of the biggest barriers, because there are so many needs, and you just named a lot of them, benefits, housing, transportation, that the weight that is lifted off a provider being able to come to your home can be like the entirety of the difference. So I would just like encourage, more collaboration on seeing how we can increase the use of that. And then my last question, does Correctional Health Service plan to continue offering cell phones to people with mental health diagnoses and challenges and other health concerns that are released on Rikers? And has that been successful, and should it be expanded?
Yes, and we actually have expanded the program. So in the summer of 2023, we established the first ever reentry service center on Rikers. That's for everyone released from custody from Rikers can drop in. They can get hygiene kits. They can get a snack, make a phone call, and then anyone who has serious mental illness is eligible for a free smartphone, which is donated by T-Mobile through a partnership we have with that company. And then CHS provides a year-long service plan. And we've expanded to anyone who is enrolled in our KEEP program. So that is anyone receiving opioid treatment program, as well as all women are also eligible for phones now. And we've distributed since its launch more than 2,000 phones.
Last one, all women. Does that include trans women?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. Gonna pivot to CHS. Thank you. For people in custody in the KEEP program to receive methadone and Suboxone to treat opioid use disorder, it's critical that sobriety and stability they work so hard to establish in custody is not lost upon their release. How does CHS ensure there is continuity of care?
Yes, thank you. That is a key part of our opioid treatment program. So it is actually the largest and oldest opioid treatment program in the country. About 1 in 4 individuals on Rikers have a substance use opioid disorder. Not everyone would choose to enroll in KEEP or be eligible for the program, but it's certainly one of our highest clinical needs. And a core part of that service isn't just providing methadone and buprenorphine to people while they're in custody, but it's also making those connections and referrals to community-based services.
Thank you. We've also been joined by Councilmember Felice online. Another follow-up to that is, does anyone follow up to make sure the person actually made it to the provider and entered treatment? If they did not, what happens?
So we always keep an open line of communication with patients should they choose to contact us. We do that in part through our port line, which is a reentry hotline that's staffed by peers. Individuals can call it actually while they're in jail or after their release. But we don't track patients when they leave, understanding that they have agency, and many people, when they leave jail, they no longer want to be associated or connected with their correctional health provider. But that's in part why we make connections to the broader health and hospital system. So we certainly make every effort to connect them, and they can always go to the CRAN centers, which I mentioned earlier, or contact the phone line.
What improvements can be made to better connect people in custody who qualify for assertive community treatment, forensic act, or intensive mobile treatment with a treatment team before they are released from jail?
Yeah, so those were the programs that Councilmember Caban was referencing earlier that we do screen everyone who has serious mental illness for their eligibility and appropriateness for the program. And then we refer, it is a DOHMH run program. So I think they could speak better to their maybe capacity needs or other proposed changes to the program. And I should note that CHS isn't the only agency that makes those referrals. There are many other entities that are referring individuals.
Thank you. Moving to Nycc. Many people with serious mental illness leave Rikers while on the waiting list for intensive mobile treatment and or for forensic assertive community treatment teams. Has Nycc considered developing an intensive mobile mental health team specifically to provide immediate services upon release until an individual is able to gain access to existing community groups?
Thank you for the question. Right now, Nycc has, in partnership, a mobile care van for the places in community that have challenges with transportation. We have been looking at serious mental illness population in order to figure out how we better serve them. We've really focused on making sure that we have the actual personnel that can provide the care to that population, but do understand that making sure that those people are actually connected to those personnel is a priority. And we will look into seeing what a model could look like for that level of collaboration in public health and being able to stand something up.
Thank you. Commissioner, during a 2024 criminal justice hearing, representatives from DOC testified that most commissary accounts with unclaimed funds have totals far below $200. Is there a reason that the department can't be more proactive in ensuring that people with small amounts remaining in their commissary account have those funds provided to them upon release? And this is in reference, for the record, for intro number 206, sponsored by Councilmember Hudson.
I'll ask our general counsel to speak to those details, but let me say this, that we want to ensure that those funds are returned to the people who are in our custody. And we want to partner with City Council to make sure that we work in partnership to achieve that. We do not want that money. We shouldn't have that money. It belongs to the people who are in our care. The challenge is figuring out how do we get there. So we are working and want to partner with the City Council to make that happen. But our general counsel can speak specifically to the question you posed. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Jim Conroy, General Counsel. Just echoing what the commissioner said, we don't want the money. We have a desire to move this out. We do find that 70% of the people in custody have an amount that's less than $100. So what we would look to do is increase our messaging, the resources to the persons in custody to understand how they could pick up these funds and any other technological advances that we could make to support that. But we do look forward to working with the council and internally and coming up with solutions.
Thank you. I know I spoke about next steps already, but providers have been asked to provide weekly reports on program outcomes into DOP Connect. The previous administration justified this action based on the fact that they were moving to create a new database. What is the status of DOP Connect, and are providers still being asked to report weekly on program outcomes?
Thank you for that question. I will hand that over to Senior Director Deltrina Peterkin.
Good afternoon. And thank you for the question. So because we're still in the bean counting business, we don't have the new system up and running that we wanted to have during that administration. So we need the documents or the information from the providers so we'll know in real time what information that are being put into the system. A lot of them don't use the system. A lot of the different providers, we work or we gather information from different sources. So it can be systems, it could be spreadsheets. So to have something on a more continued basis or a more streamlined basis, we ask all the providers to submit these outcomes to us on a weekly basis. And it's helped us look at the data in a more holistic way to see what providers are doing or faring better than others, and to capture the data in real time. So the data has been helping us, and it also helps the providers. So because we'll know, like, how many people are in the program, what's their capacity, and what we need to do to refer more clients to the different programs.
Thank you. And under the previous administration, several programs that were supporting the prevention agenda were cut and others terminated, such as Next Steps. What will your approach to rebuild relationships with providers and the individuals on probation be? And on Next Steps, have you analyzed the termination and reconsidered reestablishing that particular program yet?
I can say that building relationships is very important to me, and especially with our providers. And so that's why I said I will make sure that I get around. Some have already connected with me and continue to connect with me. Before I could reach out, they're reaching out. My door has been open for bringing them in and hearing. But right now I'm still like learning and assessing and finding out what actually happened before I can say or commit to saying I'm bringing this back or this program back.
And to just piggyback off what the commissioner is saying, in the unit, we have a program and evaluation unit that meet with the providers on a regular basis. That regular basis can be weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. But we stay in contact with all the providers regularly. So we are constant communication with them so we can support them if they have any challenges or issues with programming or services. So we're on hand to assist them with any of their needs going forward.
Thank you. And I'd just like to thank the panel for your testimony and your endurance today. And I'm looking forward to future hearings with you all. The panel's dismissed. Thank you.
Thank you.
The committee is going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll start public testimony. Sergeants, we're ready to begin. I now open the hearing for public testimony. I remind members of the public that this is a formal government proceeding and that decorum shall be observed at all times. As such, members of the public shall remain silent at all times. The witness table is reserved for people who wish to testify. No video, recording, or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recordings to the Sergeant at Arms for inclusion in the hearing record. If you wish to speak at today's hearing, please fill out an appearance card with the Sergeant at Arms and wait to be recognized. When recognized, you will have 2 minutes to speak on today's hearing topic and the legislation being considered. If you have a written statement or additional written testimony you wish to submit for the record, please provide a copy of that testimony to the Sergeant at Arms. You may also email written testimony to testimony@council.nyc.gov within 72 hours of this hearing. Audio and video recordings will not be accepted. We will now call the first panel.
I'll call Delvani Powell, Zachary Katz-Nelson, Patrick Stevens, Michael Klinger, and Maria Colosi.
You may begin when you're ready.
My testimony was going to take a little over 2 minutes. Is that okay?
I just ask that you submit the rest of the testimony in writing, but if you could keep it to 2 minutes,
I'll
I'd
try
really
to keep it
appreciate
as much as possible.
2 minutes. I'm going to get through to everyone.
Okay. My name is Nycc Powell. And I serve as the president of the United Probation Officers Association. UPOA represents approximately 600 supervising probation officers and probation officers, supervisor trainee, probation officer trainees, probation officer assistants who work in the New York City Department of Probation. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today about the vital role probation plays preventing recidivism and promoting public safety and safety in our community. Probation is one of the most important and often least understood components of criminal justice. Every day, probation officers stand at the intersection of accountability and opportunity. We are peace officers trained alongside our colleagues in law enforcement, authorized to make arrests and carry out enforcement duties when necessary, but our roles go far beyond that. We supervise individuals who have been sentenced by the courts to remain in the community under strict conditions. We conduct investigations that inform judicial decision. We monitor compliance, respond to violations, and ensure court mandates are followed. At the same time, we connect people to services, mental health treatment, substances, who use counseling, employment programs, education opportunities, housing resources, so they can stabilize their lives and avoid further involvement in the criminal justice system. In short, we keep communities safe while giving people a second chance at life. Research consistently shows that effective supervision reduces recidivism when caseloads are manageable and officers are supported with the proper training and resources. Probation becomes one of the most cost-effective, impactful public safety tools available. We reduce jail populations, ease burden on courts and correctional facilities, and help individuals become productive members of their communities. Our members are predominantly women and people of color, many from various communities that we serve. They understand the neighborhoods, the challenges, and the systemic barriers our clients face. They do this work simply, they do this job, it's not just a job, but a calling rooted in public service. Probation is not soft in crime, it's small on public safety. Unfortunately, the Department of Probation has faced, can I just do some bullets real quick? Okay. Um, Unfortunately, the Department of Probation has faced significant challenges in recent years that have undermined its effectiveness, as documented by the state controller. We have the highest rate of attrition, and over 200 officers have left the department in the past year or so. In some assignments, officers are managing caseloads that far exceed best practices standards. Family court officers carry over 40 cases, while adult services is carrying over 100 cases. When officers are overburdened, they have less time to fulfill visits, home checks, employer contacts, individual case planning. They have less time to build relationships that are essential to change behavior. They are
I'm gonna
forced
just ask,
to
I'm
react.
sorry to wrap
Let
it
me
up.
just do my bullets real quick. All right, so let me just do my bullets so I can.
If you could just wrap it up, we'll
Yeah, I'm
get it
going to
and
wrap
write
it out.
it.
Right, let me do it. We now have an opportunity to turn the page. I'm going to do that. We congratulate Commissioner Sharon Goodwin on her appointment and recognize that she brings decades of experience with the department. We joined the agency together in 1987. Upon standards ready to work collaboratively with Commissioner Goodwin and her leadership, the team to rebuild and strengthen this department, we believe the following is necessary. Then I'll be finished. Aggressive hiring from active civil service lists and consistent academy classes, meaningful retention strategies to stem attrition, reasonable caseload standards aligned with evidence-based practices, clear career pathway promotional opportunities, investment in training, technology, and safe working conditions, a renewed labor management partnership grounded in mutual respect with Commissioner Goodwin, and a balanced family work
Thank
life
you.
with our
Thank you.
members.
You can submit the rest in
And
writing.
the rest of it is submitted.
Yes, and I just ask that everyone adhere to the 2-minute limit, and you can submit the rest of your testimony in writing. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Zachary Katz-Nelson with the Independent Rikers Commission. Thanks for the chance to testify. I think what we heard today was things you alluded to as well, that missed opportunity after missed opportunity, unfortunately, when it comes to supportive housing, when it comes to people who've had hard-won stability in the jails in terms of drug treatment. They're not getting placed. They're not getting warm handoffs. And DOC actually has a good model already for reentry, which is the 6A program. The 6A program, everybody there gets an individualized release plan. They get connected with housing if they need it. They get connected, everybody's connected with a community-based provider, and they get transportation either to that provider or to the housing. So we know that people get there. Right now, people don't even, when the drug treatment folks are being released, a lot of times the community providers don't even know that person is coming their way, let alone that when they're going to be released. There's a process right now the Criminal Justice Agency runs. Whenever someone who's being served by one of the MOCJ funded providers gets arrested, the provider gets notified. Why don't we have the reverse? When they're coming out of Rikers, why isn't the provider notified that someone's coming and they're ready for them, or they find a way to make that happen? We have these models that work, and one thing that stood out was no agency is coordinating any of this, right? They're all doing their little pieces here and there. Nobody's responsible for actually ensuring that somebody gets the support and care they need. One person that could help do that, at least, is the council-mandated closed Rikers czar position at City Hall. Right, last year, the council passed legislation that's supposed to be a full-time person at City Hall dedicated to closing Rikers, transitioning to the borough jails. This is a key piece of it. How do we safely and smartly stop the overinflation of the jail population? Right, we've got to stop this cycle of recidivism that's happening right now. People returning to Rikers over and over again who have needs. That position is unfilled, and it's really incumbent on City Hall to fill it, but the council could please push as well to try and make that happen. And so I think it's a question of, we need some more resources like transitional housing, but it's really about how do we make sure people get connected to what we already have today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Klinger. I'm a jail services attorney with Brooklyn Defenders. Thank you to the committee members and committee chair Brooks Powers and your staff and committee staff for organizing today's hearing. Thank you also, Chair, for your active engagement with BDS in recent weeks over the issues around lack of heat and other basic needs on Rikers Island during this particularly cold period of time. We welcome the news that the department's $14 million in new contracts for externally provided programming have been reinstated or reinstantiated somehow to bring robust programming back into the daily lives of the nearly 7,000 people who currently reside on Rikers Island. We want to share just how important some of this programming is or will be. Recently, a colleague of mine received a call from a former client she worked with nearly 8 years ago. As a teenager detained at RNDC, he participated in every program he could. Now in his 20s, he's looking for work, he's back in Brooklyn, and called to request copies of the certificates that he earned while he was in custody. A food handler's license, food preparation certifications, automotive and mechanic training, OSHA 30 completion, and interpersonal skills courses. 8 years later, these certificates still matter. In the short term, we know that programs provide relief from the difficult reality of life in custody, but so often we hear a desire to make plans for the future and to begin building a life back in the community. We hear from people who seek critical opportunities to engage in therapeutic groups, skill-building courses, and classes where they can express themselves creatively. Providing excellent programs will support successful reentry and at the same time increase safety and security in the jails. With respect to education, we are concerned about limited access to adult ed, GED classes, and other services appear unavailable to many people over 21 who would eagerly participate. We urge the department to expand these offerings across facilities, and we also encourage expanding summer school services beyond students with IEPs or those already prepared to take the GED. With the return of organizations like Fortune and Osborne and others comes a renewed commitment to making life on Rikers Island more humane and safer for everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Brooks Powers and the committee. My name is Maria Colosi, and I am a reentry advocate and grant manager at New York County Defender Services. We are a public defender office that has represented over 500,000 clients over the last 3 decades. Traditionally, public defense work ends at sentencing, leaving clients adrift once their trial level case is closed. At NYCDS, we believe public defender offices are uniquely positioned to provide not only legal representation, but also consistent advocacy post-conviction. Our office already knows our clients, we know their needs, we know their histories, and their families. We know the difficulties they face while incarcerated and post-release after their case ends. In a year when the city will be issuing a new RFP for public defense, we urge the council and mayor to go beyond its traditional funding platform and invest in reentry programs through public defender offices. This funding will not only ensure that current jail population is reduced to meet the city's commitment to close Rikers Island, but also work to make sure that it does not increase in future years. Currently, through a 3-year federal grant, NYCDS has been able to charter a different approach to representation. Our reentry team picks up where our trial team leaves off and continues to support our clients through their incarceration and in the critical period in which they transition back to their communities. Our team seeks to fill 3 essential needs to our clients that other agencies are not filling: continuity of care from arrest to reentry, individualized reentry planning built with client input, and peer support managed by persons with lived experience. Our reentry team leverages the knowledge of our social workers and trial attorneys to start building a relationship with the client as early as sentencing. While our clients are incarcerated, the reentry team meets with them regularly. We speak with them about their goals, get to know their loved ones, create a plan with them, and then we help them execute that plan as they come home. We are often putting in program referrals and coordinating with outside providers while our clients are still incarcerated. I'm just about 30 more seconds. When our clients come home, a peer advocate meets with them at the bus stop or in the community, ready with a cell phone and transportation. Our team is there physically to walk through the first days post-release with our clients, escort them to parole, take them to programs, and to be a support to them. Yes. The week our clients re-enter the community after being in custody is often the most critical and overwhelming. Our clients are relieved to have a friendly face to walk through this time with them, specifically someone who's been through it themselves. We endeavor to stop the cycles of incarceration, prevent future crimes and parole violations, and strengthen our communities. Our work is funded in no small part through a generous grant from the New York City Council Speakers Initiative for Discharge Planning, but New York City needs to make this funding a fixed portion of the public defense portfolio. Thank you.
Again, I'd like to remind everyone there's a 2-minute limit. Please adhere to it. You can submit written testimony for the rest of the remarks.
Good morning, distinguished chair and committee members. My name is Patrick Stevens. I'm a leadership fellow at the Center for Community Alternatives, a systems impacted person who spent more than 2 decades in state prison. I'm testifying to urge the council to support programming known to reduce recidivism, to fully implement and strengthen the laws you have already passed on commissary refunds and ID NYC access for people leaving city jails. With respect to the evidence-based programming, New York State is known to reduce recidivism by specific targeted interventions. Those include employment services, cognitive behavioral therapy, programming, mentoring, alternatives to incarceration, and specifically when it comes to anti-violence programming, restorative justice training and programming. Also incorporating support for formerly incarcerated people who come to do this work as credible messengers and who are dedicated to this work. And as a quick data point, with respect to employment and cognitive behavioral therapy programming, we know that according to the Pew MacArthur results, that about 12% we have a reduction of 12% in recidivism and a return of $4 in taxpayer benefits for every dollar invested in this programming. Now, concerning commissary refunds, under the current administrative law, DOC must help people or is supposed to help people get their funds that are left over in commissary. That is not happening. We would ask that the council support stronger interventions to ensure that people get their money on return. We know that the very first couple of months are very critical when it comes to reentry services, and we want to make sure that people have all of their resources. Similarly, when it comes to the identification, this is really critically important. People cannot access bank accounts. Other resources get transferred to other resources if they do not have proper identification. There's no reason that our docs cannot ensure that people leave facilities with their money, connections to programming, and the data and the identification that they need. Thank you, Chair. I will submit the rest of my testimony in writing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This panel is dismissed.
Okay, I'll call the next panel. Megan Marcellin, Michael Rock, Nadia Chait, Rosalind Morrison, and Kelsey Burgess.
Good afternoon. My name is Megan French-Marslin. Today, I testify on behalf of the Alternatives to Incarceration and Reentry Coalition. We are a network of 12 community-based organizations who collectively serve more than 40,000 justice-involved New Yorkers each year. As you have heard today, behavioral health conditions are not peripheral at Rikers. They characterize the majority of the jail population. Jail is not designed to, nor should it be a place to treat any health disorder. It destabilizes, decompensates, and adds trauma in the place of care. In that way, reentry services become even more critical. When providers are able to offer reentry services to people leaving incarceration, especially when those providers are doing those connections on Rikers, individuals can access sustained mental health, substance use treatment, medication management, housing placement, and coordinated case management. But this requires providers to be allowed on Rikers in order to ensure a continuum of care and have the flexibility to create discharge planning that includes warm handoffs. It also requires the city to resource providers to ensure that they can hire and sustain clinical staff. City contracts are significantly depressed salaries for clinical staff, so we simply cannot compete with the private market. We're also facing $3.3 million in cuts this year. This is true even as evidence demonstrates quite clearly that community health interventions reduce recidivism and improve outcomes. The Council must prioritize sustained funding for service providers, ensure active Medicaid enrollment and care continuity before release, and advance cross-agency funding strategies that treat reentry as a long-term investment. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Nadia Chait. I'm the Senior Director of Policy and Advocacy at CASES. CASES serves over 12,000 New Yorkers annually, guided by our core belief that public safety comes from investing in people's potential, not their punishment. Mental illness, poverty, and homelessness are conditions that must be treated with holistic support, not crimes. When we think about reentry programming, we often think of it as a discrete moment in time, but the reality of our clients' lives is much more complex. Our clients often experience reentry at the same time that they are experiencing an alternative to incarceration. They are re-entering our community from Rikers while also avoiding a state prison sentence. And when we have flexible funding that allows us to serve people across the continuum of their interactions with the legal service system, our success is immense. Nathaniel Act, which is one of our hallmark programs. It's an alternative to incarceration that provides an intensive mental health treatment team that meets with our participants in the community, but also is funded to do court coordination, to work with folks on Rikers, to work with folks who are at state psychiatric facilities receiving competency restoration as their case proceeds. And with the robust support that that program is able to provide, we find that 94% of our participants had no new felony convictions in the 2 years after they completed the program. And we see a 70% decrease in homelessness over the course of individuals' time with us, and a 50% decrease in psychiatric hospitalization. In addition to those big metrics, we also see the reality of people's lives being transformed as they're able to connect with their family members and with their friends in the community and build the networks of support that come not just from the clinical and peer support that we provide, but that come from truly being supported by their community. And we urge the council to ensure flexible funding so that across all of our programs, we're able to meet our clients across their interaction with the legal system.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kelsey Burgess, Development Manager with Getting Out and Staying Out. At Getting Out and Staying Out, we work directly with 16 to 24-year-old young people who are incarcerated in Rikers Island and juvenile facilities, people in the community who have been directly impacted by the criminal justice system, and those who are at risk. We focus on developing strategies that empower them to reintegrate successfully, overcome barriers, and ultimately build a future free of incarceration. In 2025, GOSO's Cure Violence program saved 215 violence interruptions, 101 mediations, held 36 events, and connected 41 participants to GOSO's supportive services. This work, combined with GOSO's community-based education, mental health, job readiness, and paid internship program, has reduced violence and led to better outcomes for the young people we serve. Our GOSO Works program connects participants to city-subsidized internships to employment opportunities with 50 businesses in New York City at no cost to the employer for the first 240 hours of work. Many participants are hired full-time after the internship program. In GOSO's community program, 93 of the young people we support do not return to jail. GOSO responded to increased needs we saw from court-involved youth for treatment of anxiety, depression, and PTSD by opening an in-house mental health clinic and in partnership with the Child Center that provides robust services, including psychiatric care, which is in high demand. Research has shown that having education, stable employment, and mental health services can dramatically decrease an individual's likelihood to reoffend. We are very thankful to the City Council, DYCD, and HRA for funding these programs, but mental health care for justice involved individuals and adults literacy are chronically underfunded. In order to ensure the future and safety of our city, we need to make sure that anti-violence resources, education, employment, and mental health care are available to more of our young people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Rock. I represent. Good? Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Michael Rock. I represent Workforce and Reentry at Bronx Connect, which is also Urban Youth Alliance International Incorporated. We service justice-impacted New Yorkers, which includes people returning from incarceration, on probation or parole, recently arrested in the last 5 years. Our work begins before release. We build transition plans inside Rikers Island, secure identification, map training pathways, and schedule appointments so individuals come home with structure, not uncertainty. So we also maintain a presence at probation offices to ensure immediate connection during those first critical days. So over the past 3 years, we've had 357 individuals complete programming or receive sponsorship, with 134 placed in paid internships and 137 who've secured full-time and permanent employment. But we don't just provide like jobs, we stabilize lives. So we provide cognitive behavioral therapy, career readiness training, financial literacy, sponsor certifications like CDL, OSHA, EMT, and healthcare pathways. But we focus on removing barriers such as transportation costs, court obligations, and document issues. But because employment without stability is not opportunity, it's risk. So I also stand before you as someone who served 16 consecutive years in prison. June 4th of 2024 marked the point of my release. So I know firsthand that those first 72 hours after release can determine someone's trajectory. So freedom is something that's extremely powerful, but it is also fragile. So today, what we are presenting is, this idea, this need, this urgency that expanded funding for certifications and credentials is extremely important. Flexible emergency funds for stabilization, such as ID, transportation, as well as work gear. And incentives, increased incentives for employers willing to hire justice impacted New Yorkers. So these are small investments that prevent far greater costs. Workforce and reentry funding is not like a charity. It's public safety and economic strategy. That's it.
Thank you. The panel is dismissed. Thank you all for your testimony.
Thank you for your testimony. The next panel, when you hear your name, please step up. Darren Mack, Jennifer Parrish, Eduardo Rodriguez, Brian Carmichael, and Victor Herrera. You may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Brooks Powers and committee members. We are grateful to the council for holding this hearing today. My name is Darren Mack, and I'm the co-director of Freedom Agenda. I'm a survivor of Rikers, and our members are people who have experienced Rikers, either while detained there or visiting loved ones. We also coordinate the campaign to close Rikers, and we are so glad to have a commissioner who is committed to getting it done. We are relieved to know that outside program providers are finally returning to Rikers Island. We believe that programs should be further expanded in the future. Expanding access to programs is not just about funding them, it's also about removing barriers. People who could benefit the most from program are sometimes prevented from accessing it, either because they are kept in isolation in violation of local law 42, or because they are assigned some security status by DOC that excludes them. Those designations are made by DOC with no meaningful way to challenge them, since DOC staff run the disciplinary hearings at Rikers and incarcerated people often have no representation. In addition to programs, having proper identification and access to commissary funds will support our neighbors returning home from Rikers. We support T 2026 12-1254 and Intro 246, and thank the Public Advocate Williams and Councilmember Hudson for introducing them. We recommend a slight amendment to T 2026-1254 to include people facing misdemeanor charges. Due to bail reform rollbacks and aggressive NYP enforcement tactics, the number of people held at Rikers facing misdemeanor charges has grown. While we hope to see this number reduced soon, we don't believe there's good reason to exclude people who are detained on misdemeanor charges. We also recommend some slight amendments to strengthen Intro 246 and further expand accessibility to reclaiming commissary funds. In addition to the option to receive a check, people released from DOC custody should have the option to receive their commissary funds on a preloaded
Your
debit
time
card.
has expired.
And I would be submitting my testimony, the full remainder of my testimony electronically.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Carmichael. I'm a member of Freedom Agenda and a community organizer and health worker. I also have a history. I've spent more than half my life incarcerated, primarily dealing with drug addiction issues and a temper, and nothing worked. I tried every program until I found Rikers Debate Project on Rikers Island. I don't have authority to speak for them, but I'm advocating for the concept of self-help programs. Programs like Alcoholics Anonymous, Crystal Meth Anonymous, NA, on and on, don't cost the state anything. There's like endless supply of volunteers ready to go in there and have meetings and provide services. It doesn't cost the state anything. But programs like Rikers Debate and NA and AA are the first ones to get cut when there's any reason, short staffing, they can come up with any excuse, and those are the ones that get shut down. Because from Rikers Island, when you go to the yard, you can see New York City, and you can see the airplanes taking off and landing, and it's very clear. It's a very clear message that New York City and the world has moved on without you, and nobody cares. That's the feeling it is in there. And there's so many things that the city council can do to make it clear, like these programs are important to us and they must be, protected. And again, they don't cost the state anything, but after 60 years of being in trouble, when I've found programs like Rikers Debate and AA and joined Freedom Agenda, I'm happy to say I'm off parole. Now I train staff in supportive housing on harm reduction techniques, and I don't have a temper, but those first steps are all important, and you guys can do a lot to show that you demand them. Thanks for letting me testify.
Thank you for that testimony.
Good afternoon, Chair, committee members. My name is Eduardo Rodriguez. I'm a member of Freedom Agenda, the campaign to close Rikers Island. I'm also here testifying as an acting house manager at Risewell Community Care, one of our scatter site supportive housing programs located in District 31. I reintegrated from prison last year, March. And the truth about my experience is the observation that the supportive housing programs aren't functioning as they could be. One of the reasons why is because the lack of adherence to the tier system, 1, 2, and 3, that is usually used to screen individuals as candidates for these supportive housing programs are not being adhered to. This is important to acknowledge because the level of functionality is what qualifies individuals for these type of supportive housing programs. And if you have people who are less functioning than others, then that causes a disruptance in the treatment that is being provided to individuals at a level in which I am presently residing at. For example, this is a independent living center where individuals might be college ready, employment ready, vocational ready. They work hard towards learning how to cope with whatever has led up to their incarceration. And then there are people who are at level 2 or level 1, low functioning. They're not able to acknowledge and comprehend the issues that led up to their incarceration. Some people are just not ready to get it together. And that disrupts the process. That interferes. I have a personal testimony where I had to deal with someone who was delusional as a living, pull out a knife on me a couple of weeks ago. I'll be submitting the rest of my testimony, and you'll certainly be hearing from me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Parrish. I work at the Urban Justice Center Mental Health Project, and I'm a member of the Jails Action Coalition and the Halt Solitary Campaign. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. There are two issues that I want to highlight and ask for the council to support. The first relates to ending the torture of solitary confinement at Rikers. Providing alternative therapeutic programming is essential for transforming the culture at Rikers, but it's particularly important for the successful implementation of Local Law 42, which was passed by the council. It's not yet been implemented, but we hope that this administration is moving forward in doing so. Local Law 42 prohibits the use of solitary confinement other than de-escalation confinement for a maximum of 4 hours. And while the harms of solitary and the need to restrict its use are often the focus of discussion about these reforms, these laws do not simply take away the department's power to inflict harmful, dehumanizing isolation upon people in custody. They also require an alternative response, namely the creation of units in which behavior change is accomplished through meaningful engagement. And the provision of quality programming in these units is essential. We urge the council to support the department in strengthening programming across the board, and particularly in successfully ending the use of solitary confinements in the jails. We've urged the department to bring in outside experts with experience designing and implementing effective programming. This is feasible and it needs to be prioritized. The other issue I want to highlight is related to ensuring that programming, reentry services, ATIs, community services for the jail population meet the needs of that population comprehensively. We know that 60% of the jail population requires mental health treatment and greater than 20% are diagnosed with serious mental illness. And that means that the funding that Nycc provides for ATIs, the programming that DOC offers, needs to meet the needs of that population comprehensively. And I'll submit our testimony.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Victor Herrera. Oh, I'm sorry. Hi. Good afternoon. My name is Victor Herrera, a lived experience, expertise, community leader, and member. I wear a wide variety of hats related to the community at risk. Freedom Agenda, Treatment Court Expansion Act, to name a few. Namely, people experiencing emotional crisis and recidivism resulting from the mistaken, often criminalization of the behavioral health concerns that is further exacerbated by pretrial detention and incarceration. The resources as it relates requires the community to do more to prevent people with mental health crisis concerns to be treated rather than criminalized, providing more intense mobile treatment outreach, and assuring that appropriate lived experience, lived expertise are strongly enumerated in the IMT proposal to this committee. Many of the individuals at risk lack appropriate medication management and assistance and resort to self-medicating behavior, leading to further downward spiral to depression and anxiety. The brutality of detention requires more on the appropriate discharge planning, which New York City Department of Correction needs to recognize. Internal pretrial detention requires more oversight to ensuring individuals are provided with reentry services. The reentry services that I suggest would be similar to the planning discharge that New York City Health and Hospital Corporation incorporates when an individual is discharged from the hospital. I'm just suggesting that DOC should follow, and it kind of discharges the responsibility of DOC in terms of discharge and reentry. Currently today, I stood up for my brother who's held in Rikers Island, who experiences intense mental health concerns. Luckily that he was given time served. He's being discharged. He'll be staying with me. But my brother is a prime example of the experiences and the lack of resources that are coming out of Rikers Island, okay? And in terms of the commissary, that was something I discussed with him because I just left him money, okay? And I was thinking, well, he only spent a portion of it. How is he going to get that, okay? And the discharge planning should include, the debit card should be included in the discharge. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for your testimony, and the panel is dismissed.
Thank you for your testimony. I'll call the next panel. I apologize in advance for the name abbreviations. Don't want to butcher your name. When you hear your name, please step up. Damian Riviere, Carlos Jones, Uzoma O, Y. Jennings, and Harry G. When you're ready, you may begin your testimony.
Good afternoon. My name is Damian Rivera.
I work at Center for Community Alternatives. I'm currently the Director of Youth Organizing. And I pretty much came here to speak about the issue of recidivism amongst the youth in the area where we support, which is Brownsville, Brooklyn, and youth throughout New York City in general. So I feel that one of the main issues with the recidivism is that we need more trauma and mental health awareness for the youth. Currently, I focus on a lot of restorative justice work, and I have seen the change with the youth that I work with in Brownsville. I take my youth and do like community mapping, community benefit projects, and so forth. And we notice that once the youth has an interest in their community and an interest in a certain issue, they tend to lean towards more positive change. Um, Also, I feel that we need more pro socials for our youth. Growing up in New York City, it was always like Boys and Girl Clubs, PAL, YMCA, so forth. And now, because the youth have no real outlet for their free time, they tend to engage in more activities that they shouldn't be engaging in. So I know that to combat the recidivism, if youth have more time to idolize their time in a more constructive way and manner, it has shown that these youth would try to change, would try to do better. I'm not only just speaking on that experience working in Brownsville, but prior to working there, I worked as an aftercare worker with incarcerated youth. So I know pro socials and keeping them engaged and being active with them does help with change, does help with their rehabilitation. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Zoe, and I'm the co-founder of Emerge Career. Thank you so much for the opportunity to testify today, Chairwoman. I'm here to talk about something I believe in profoundly, that employment is the most powerful tool we have to break cycles of incarceration and build safer communities. A wealth of research confirms that formerly incarcerated individuals who maintain employment for just 1 year post-release recidivate at only 16% compared to 52% for those who are unemployed. The problem is access. 6 of the 10 people who are released from prison are still jobless 4 years later. When we fail to connect people to work, we fail our communities. That's why our partnership with the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice through the program Next Mile NYC has been so transformative. At Emerge, we're using technology to solve a critical problem: the fragmentation of the reentry system and the inefficiencies that are setting up people to fail. Our model leverages automation and software to unify what historically has been a broken process, from recruitment to career assessment, hybrid vocational training, job placement, and retention. We meet incarcerated and formerly incarcerated people where they're at using technology to deliver personalized coaching, track progress in real time, and connect participants directly with employers who desperately need them. This program currently provides free CDL training and soon other vocations to justice-involved New Yorkers inside and outside of Rikers, connecting them to careers and industries facing over 6,000 driver shortages nationwide. The results speak for themselves. Our graduates are earning an average of $80,000, with some earning over $120,000. We've achieved a near perfect credential attainment rate for those who complete training, and 100% of our graduates have received job offers within 6 months. I urge the council to continue supporting reentry workforce development programs like Next Mile NYC. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Miss Jennings. I don't have anything written down because I'm nauseous, I'm dizzy, and I'm working on my 3rd heart attack, and that's not a game or a joke. I reached out to the Honorable, it's a stalking issue. I reached out to the Honorable Miss Gale when she was the Manhattan Borough President. I saw her at CCRB, they don't handle stalking. And I asked her something, she didn't really have an answer because she couldn't answer. She said, "You think." I knew it was always a police issue because it's drug related. I don't do drugs. It started, this stalking is May 11, 2006. When I asked the police and the FBI in the fall of 2006,
Sorry,
when
I'm
does
just going
this
to ask
end?
that you speak on the legislation heard today or
No,
the
it's on
hearing
the stalking
topic?
issue, and I sat down here and I just watched and I saw enough of what I need to see. As I sat, I could feel something. I turn around and I see the creeping. You have cameras in here.
I ask that you keep your remarks to today's topic or the legislation that we're hearing today, please.
Uh, I came to speak on something else. It's a stalking issue. But
So this is not the proper forum for that. You need to keep it on the topic of today's hearing, which is focused on programming to prevent recidivism and promote
Well,
public
I'm
health
all
and
against that.
safety.
I mean, who wants recidivism? We don't want any of that. I just wish all of them who were stalking me would stop. And I'm looking at the room, and I love the cameras. So I'm going to end it now, and I'm going to say, I think it was Tuesday, a dozen letters were sent to the White House. 5,000 plus have gone in regard to the stalking, and every bus and train camera has seen it. And I did try to reach out to you before about it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. The panel is dismissed.
Thank you.
For virtual panelists, we will be calling individuals one by one to testify. Once your name is called, a member of our staff will unmute you, and the sergeant at arms will set the timer and give you the go-ahead to begin. Please wait for the sergeant to announce that you may begin before delivering your testimony. Thank you.
Recognizing on Zoom Glenn Belofsky. When you're ready, please unmute and you may begin.
You may begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Was unmuting. Thank you, Madam Chair. Nice to see you here today, holding court as we are so well as you have in the past in transportation and infrastructure. The resounding theme today is we need money, money for funding for programs, money for simple things like giving individuals who've served their time the money they have still in the cafeteria, their few pennies that they have. We can't even get it to them. What a messed up system we're living with. So the core line, the thread is money, money, money. And the chair and many of the council members know there's money we can have, money we're fighting to get, that the chair is fighting to get under a former bill, 1141, 2018. And we're seeking to renew that. We've passed around material for New York State VTL 1809A. It says $15 of every parking ticket is supposed to come to the criminal justice funds for local criminal justice programs. There's literally over $100 million sitting there, not collected by the DOF for companies like Amazon, FedEx, UPS, or in their stipulated fine program. The money's there. Let's get it. Let's help our communities and our people and our prison guards who are trying to stay safe. We want them coming home safe every night and day too. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you guys today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Glenn. Great to see you.
Recognizing next person on Zoom, Brandon Lloyd. When you're ready to begin, you may unmute.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Brooks Powers and members of the Committee on Criminal Justice. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Brandon Lloyd, and I am the Director of Government Affairs for the Urban Resource Institute, which is the largest provider of domestic violence shelter services in the nation and a leading provider of transitional housing and community-based services for families across New York City. Every day we create pathways to safety, accountability, stability, and healing for survivors of domestic violence and families in crisis. URI operates a nationally recognized abusive partner intervention program, also known as APIP, that is a trauma-informed, accountability-driven, and focused on long-term behavior change. Our unique model addresses the root causes of abusive behavior by combining evidence-based group intervention, individualized case management, mental health support, and connections to housing, employment, and other stabilizing services. This comprehensive approach not only promotes individual transformation, but also strengthens public health and safety by reducing the likelihood of future harm. An independent evaluation conducted by the Urban Institute found strong evidence that URI's trauma-informed APIP model is effective in reducing recidivism and improving participant outcomes. Participants demonstrated significant reductions in rearrest rates compared to similar individuals who did not receive these services, while the evaluation also found meaningful improvements in attitudes related to accountability, responsibility, and the use of violence, in addition to reductions in trauma symptoms and increased engagement with supportive services. These findings underscore that when individuals are provided with structured accountability alongside trauma-informed care and stabilization supports, they are more likely to change behavior and less likely to return to the criminal legal system. Programs like URI's APIP are a critical public safety strategy. Domestic violence is a leading driver of justice system involvement.
Time has expired.
Thank you. I'll be submitting the rest of my testimony electronically.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you for your testimony. Seeing nobody else on Zoom, that concludes the Zoom portion of the public testimony. If you're here for in-person testimony and have not testified but wish to testify, please sign up in the back with the sergeant. Seeing no one, that concludes public testimony.
With that, we thank everyone who took part in today's hearing and testimony, whether in person, virtually, or in writing. And with that, this hearing is now concluded.